We're replacing the Spacewalker motor today. So we're going to have a 17 millimeter with a 6-inch extension. We have a 6 millimeter Allen. We have a 9/16 wrench, Phillips screwdriver, pair of snipper dikes, a marker, and some 2 tie straps. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the drive belt off. So if I come around here, I'm going to pull the belt off. And now since the belt is off, before I take the bolts off, I want to unplug the electronics. So normally I take a picture ahead of time, but if I don't, black is going to be motor negative, red is going to be motor positive, so it's M positive, M negative. So I'm going to pull these off. Now the grounding cord is going to go through the frame over to this side over here. When we put it back together, most people are not going to have a tie strap going through, so that we're going to show you how to do the grounding strap from the top. So I undo the grounding strap, I'm going to pull it through. So now all the wires are disconnected. So disconnect the wires first, then take the motor off. And one thing I want to do is, I know that this belt was tensioned correctly, and we'll show you afterwards, but I'm going to mark this so that I know where my baseline starts with. So that's what we use the marker for. Now taking the motor off, I'm going to lean it forward. Then I'm going to pull it out. The reason being is I have my adjustment screw that's going to be down here, that if we need to, we can adjust later for the drive belt when we do our traditional 45% turn. So that's going to be at the bottom. So that's how we pull it out. So when you put your new motor back together, make sure that this is on here. You're going to slide it in the front, bring this down, but you want to make sure that this goes behind the frame. And if I try to pull it up front, you can see it just barely pulls, so it's hitting the frame. So I know it's where it needs to be. Now I'm just going to gently put in my screws, but you can see I'm way off here, which is fine. I'm just going to put my nuts on next. I'm going to bring this forward, so I know I'm back to pretty much the baseline where I was before. I'm going to bring these down, but I'm not going to fully secure them. I'm going to bring them where they're almost touching, so it gets rid of all the play. Just gently put them down. Where it just barely touches. So if I push this forward, that's where the baseline was. And my nut is not moving up here, so I know if I need to adjust the motor, it's all nice and tight underneath. Now to put this back on, I'm going to put my drive belt on first, my motor first, then I go down to the drive belt, and I just kind of turn, watch your fingers. Once it's kind of getting going, I'm going to push it to the middle of the belt. So once it's in the middle of the front roller, it's going to go to the middle of, so you want it to pop over. So now you can tell it's pretty square with the frame. And if I turn this, it's a little bit more than a 45. I'm going to cinch these down. And it's pretty much at a 45. It was, if I turned it and it went a lot more, I would just loosen these up. And then I would hold with the 9/16 the nut up front. Then I would come in here with my 6 millimeter, tighten this. And if I tighten it, it's going to pull the motor back. There you go, it's a little bit tighter drive belt. Once that's done, I'm going to be doing probably net 30 to 40 pounds of torque. Pretty much if you just do a palm, and then go across like you would do on a race car or any type of engine. You always want to last torque. You're always going to go diagonal. All right, it feels pretty good. Now we're to the electronics. Now we have this grounding cord that originally came in the frame, but it's going to be very hard to put it back in there, so that's okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the motor negative, which is the black, motor M neg. And then I'm going to do the red, which is the M plus, which is motor plus. Then I'm going to get my little screw, put it through the top one, put it through the second one. Once I get this almost all the way down, I'm going to make sure that my groundings are over here, not towards the roller. So I'm going to make sure my groundings are over here. And I'm going to throw this right at the bottom. There you go. So the one that slides in from the front roller slides at the bottom, not to the top. Because if you put it at the top and you turn it, it pops right out. Make sure that these are in this direction. Kind of hold them. Make sure they're nice and snug. Nothing's pulling off. Now this is where I get my zip ties. I have all this extra cord, so I'm just going to turn it. Bring it here. It's almost like tying your shoes. Nice little bow. Make sure it's nice and snug. Make sure it's not too tight. Then I'm going to come in here and tighten it. There you go. We replaced our motor.